Today we have a new Artesprix design team project. Yes, I can't tell you how excited I am about this. Isn't this absolutely gorgeous? So the blank we're messing with, the blank we're going to be playing with now is the glitter zip cases, and these are pretty big. And I love the material. I haven't taken it out of the package yet, but I do have a bag. I do have a shoulder bag made out of the same material, I believe. Yeah, that I had gotten from Artesprix. And I know that Artesprix and Artesprix work really close together, so I bet they got these special from them. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. But this is what we're going to be working with. I'm also taking out some dies. Yes, you heard me right. I'm going to be using dies on this project. The new die of the month from Spellbinders is all about Christmas. So we've got a bunch of Christmassy images, and I did a quick test to see if the technique I wanted to try is going to work, and it looks like it will. So we're going to see how it goes. If it doesn't work, I do have a second bag. I don't want to waste that prettiness, though. We're going to see how this goes, and so let's go ahead and dive in and make us a nice Christmassy glitter bag. Okay, so isn't that gorgeous? It isn't where the glitter's going to come off. It is all right in the material, and it's double-sided, so you can do both sides if you want. Anyway, the first thing that we always do whenever we're working with any of our sublimation projects is we need to make sure that the paper we're putting our design on is going to fit the blank, right? I'm using regular copy paper. Now, I have had people ask me, say, well, why don't you use sublimation paper? Because you don't need to. Sublimation paper is made to use with a sublimation printer because of the special inks that go through that, okay? And I have a feeling it is so that when you're printing it, it's going to adhere right. This ink is made to work with regular copy paper. I'm also planning on using some a big stamp. This one is the Nordic Knit from Simon Hurley from last year, but you notice that it's not quite the right size for this, so I'm actually going to use 2 sheets of paper so that I'm going to have a big enough space, okay? So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and draw this on there, and I'm going to just use a little bit of heat-resistant tape on the back, and that's just to hold it in place. I'm probably going to have to move this, because with the stamp, it's going to be a little difficult to try to get it lined up perfect right in the center when I'm doing this. I'm probably going to have to cut and piece it together. That's okay because I can tape it together. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. So let's go ahead and draw this on there. We're going to just use a regular number 2 pencil, just a regular pencil. And we're just going to draw around it. And all this is for is to make sure that we have the design at least going where we want it. Okay, this is basically just our template. So I think I want to have blue in the background. I was thinking green, but then I thought, if I'm going to be adding on these fun little elements, I think I want all of my branches to be green, and I like the colors to kind of be different, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just add a bunch of, this is the blue, a bunch of the blue ink onto my stamp. And I didn't even take it off of the plastic because I wanted to make it easy for me to handle, right? I'm also positive that I'm not going to have a real nice join in between the 2 panels because I am going to have to stamp this a second time, right? But I'm going to try to make sure I do pretty dark there, and it's okay if the texture, if the color isn't completely solid, this is handmade. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, I know. I just did that sign. You guys saw it, the Halloween sign that I wanted to be as perfect as possible. So I had my ScanNCut do all of that. But you don't have to do that. You can make things as artsy, and you can do grunge if you want. You can do whatever you want with this. It is a craft supply just like everything else we have in our craft room. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And I want it to go over the edge. So on the stamp, I see that This side has got a little bit of a gap at the edge already, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. Just go a little bit over the edge there. Nope. I just touched down on there, and that's okay. We're gonna go with it anyway. Actually, I think I'm gonna turn it up. Nope. Here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to put this opposite. So, because I got a little bit of ink where I didn't want it. And the only way to block that is going to be to mask it. And I'm not going to mask it because I want there to be ink there, just not right where I put it, right? Does that make any kind of sense? It should, I hope. Okay, so this is going to go right there. So when we put this on the back, we can line up our lines, and this I'm probably going to have to tape again. No worries, guys. Okay, now we've got it. So now I can put this down, and I just changed my mind. I'm going to start on the left hand. I'm going to start on the right hand side. Yes. Okay, where do I want it? I want it kind of straight. And I'm going to make it down towards the bottom because I don't want to press too close to the top anyway. So I think we're going to have a white line across the top. We're going to go right there. And then I've got a tool here to help me press it. I have in the past used a paperweight, something like that, but this is what I actually got this from Creativation. It's an eraser. So you can use whatever you have in your stash to press it down well. Okay. Oh, that is pretty. Like it. Okay, so when I come back in, I need to try to line this up as close as I can to the edge there. And it is pretty close, but there's probably going to be a little bit of a gap. That's okay. We're going to make it work. I'm going to put down another layer of the ink. Okay, I'm trying to put it right about, hope that's good. Okay, let's take a look. And that's pretty close. It's close enough. I don't think somebody's going to notice that Rudolph's nose is a little bit extra. So next step, we're going to do some die cutting. I know, I said I was going to start die cutting. Before I do that, I'm going to make some paper to die cut. I want my leaves and branches to be green. So I'm making some green paper using the ink. Actually, I'm making cardstock. Cardstock for me is easier to die cut just because it's a little firmer than plain copy paper. So yes, use what you have in your stash. If you have a lot of cardstock because you're a card maker, using cardstock is fine. It is more expensive than plain paper, but you already have it. So and I love these paper pouncers from Picket Fence. They make this so easy. Just make sure you have a special set that's just for your Artesprix inks. You don't want to commingle things. I mean, this does not really look green, right? It looks a dark bluish green, but when it transfers, it's going to be bright. It's going to be completely different. So you want to make sure that when you're doing things with your Artesprix inks, you don't want to have regular dye ink on your foam, because that's not going to transfer. Okay, I'm going to do some more in some red, and yeah, then we can start die cutting. I'm going to try to use as much of this paper that I just made as possible. I want as little left over. So I'm going to go in and try to tuck everything in so that it's all being used. And it looks like I did a better job the second time putting everything there than I did the first time, because I still have a little bit of room down here at the bottom to be able to add in another sprig or two. Okay, let's cover that with my plate. So I'm using my Platinum 6 for this, and I'm using a Magic Mat, which is my preferred way to do all of my die cutting because it has definitely saved my plates. I used to need to replace my acrylic plates all the time. Now I haven't had to replace one in 3 years. So, and I've done a lot more die cutting. And it looks like something may have shifted, but I may still be able to use it. Okay, so now we have a bunch of little pieces that I'm going to be putting onto that paper. And I did a test run on some polyester material to see if this technique will work. So from what I saw, it should work fine. We shouldn't have any kind of problem, and you'll just have to wait and see what it is I'm going to do. So next I need to decide, where do I want to put my elements. So I've got leaves, I've got poinsettias, I've got little berries. I think let's do 3 poinsettias on one side and 1 up at the top on the other. Of course, I have to remember I need to think in reverse. I like it with this down in this corner, so that means I need to put them over here, because otherwise they're going to be on the wrong corner. And then I can add my little greenery around. These guys need some berries, so I'm going to go ahead and do them next. And I believe I have all the berries cut out for that. And this is the part that I'm doing different. I'm actually going to glue this stuff together. This is one of those things that I didn't know. Will it work? Can you layer layers of sublimated paper on top of each other to block each other out? And my tests, the tests that I did showed that yes, you can. So that is what I am going to attempt. So if it doesn't work out right, this is an attempt. This is where I hadn't done it before, other than my couple of tests, and we're going to just see how it goes. And I may not have enough of my little red berries, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and add them to this sprig. Just like you would if you were doing cards. Same exact techniques, okay? And I do this quite a bit. That's one reason why I wanted to test it and see if it would work, because I thought that would be absolutely fabulous if I can do this. So this is my first actual project that I'm doing this way. So we've got our first little twig with its berries. Okay, and we've got a little bit of greenery showing. And that's another thing. It should also block any of the background. So that is the thing that I really wanted to see the most about. And so I'm just going to play around a little bit and see how I want everything arranged. I may actually need to do a little bit more die cutting, but we shall see. So let me go ahead and get busy doing that. So I've got all of my little bits put into little clusters, and I'm just going to tack them down. They don't need to be glued down really well. They just need to stay in place while it goes through our heat press, right? And let me make sure it's far enough away from the edge. Okay. I also went ahead and inked up and die cut out the centers that were part of that poinsettia die, and did that in yellow so that it would be able to stand out. I was going to do it just in plain white cardstock and leave it at that, but decided, there's probably going to be some places where it's overlapping the white, so it would be white on white, you wouldn't see anything. So instead, we've got these little yellow bits in the center that I'm going to be adding onto each of my poinsettias. Like I said, I'm just adding a little bit of glue right into the center there. And let's move that up just a touch. There we go. And since it's just a little bit of glue, if I need to reposition it, it's not a big deal. So now all of that is done, and we're going to go ahead and tape this down. Now, as I mentioned, you do need to make sure that this is kind of hanging off above it. We don't want to heat this, so that's going to be hanging out of our heat press. So it's a good reason to have that little bit of a gap up there. And it is so sparkly and stuff, it's still going to look great. So I'm lining it up. And usually I don't line it up quite this close, but I am lining it up right with my marks. I'm normally having some kind of an issue where I wind up doing a little bit off, but that's okay. This should be pretty much lined up. And I'm going to be using some fairly large pieces of tape to tape that down because I do not want it to shift. And I'm going to be popping this into my big heat press. And you also want to look at the website to see what temperature and what time you need for your project, right? So I've already looked at the website. It's 385 for 35 seconds, I believe. Let me just double check that. Actually, I was wrong. It is 385 degrees for 45 seconds. Okay, so we're good there. Now I'm going to trim this down just a little bit around the edges, just to make it so it's not as likely to have additional blowback. We don't want any of that ink to go anywhere, right? Okay, so next what we're going to need is we're going to need some protective paper. So this is big enough that I think... Actually, I'm going to do what I normally do, and I'm just going to make it twice as big as it needs to be for a sheet, and I'm going to fold it in half. Actually, give it a little bit of extra, just to be on the safe side. I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to sandwich this between it. Now, the way that you want to think about your sublimation sandwich is your sublimation paper. This is siliconized paper from Artesprix. This is going to be your hamburger bun, and this, your project is your hamburger. So we've got one layer that is below the bun. This is the bottom bun. We have the blank, which is our hamburger. And then we have our design, which is the cheese. And then we have our other bun. So you always want to do it that fashion, and you always want to make sure that your design is facing your heat. So we've got our heat press set at 385 for 45 seconds, and it's right about ready to go. It actually was ready, and then it cooled off just a touch, but I'm going to say it's good, so I'm going to go ahead and put my project in the heat press. Okay, so I've got my project in the heat press. Again, we're doing bun, hamburger, cheese, and then other bun. And I'm making sure that the zipper part is past the edge of my heat press so that it does not melt. This is a plastic zipper, so it could melt. Plus, having that different thickness, I guess, that part is going to be more firm because of the zipper. That can, of course, cause everything to not press well. So I'm going to get everything lined up, and then we're going to go ahead and press. And now we're just going to wait. We're going to wait 45 seconds and then take it out of the machine. Okay, let's take that out. And now we'll take that over to my desk and take a look. Okay, it's time for a sneak peek. Let's take a look. So we do have some blue on there, and that is what I wanted. Let me grab my tweezers real quick and let me lift up a little bit of the paper. And we have some green on there too. Don't know if you can see it, but I can. This is going to be kind of subtle, I think. I think that the ink wasn't quite heavy enough to make it really dark and bold. I think this is going to be gorgeous. So now we can reveal all the goodies. And it is wanting to stick to the fabric. I have noticed that also. Sometimes things just want to stick to the fabric. But look, we have us a poinsettia. Isn't that lovely? Yay! I'm going to go ahead and take off the rest of the paper. Oh, it is really pretty. I don't know if you can see it with the camera. The shine is so bright that it's hard to see that subtle blue, but this is lovely. I'm very pleased with the way that this one turned out, and it did exactly what I was expecting because of the test that I did. The bits where I did the layering of the color does not bleed through. I think that is fabulous. That's something I did not know, and I thought, you know, it's got to work. It's got to work. So I decided to try it, and it did. So look at that. So that means you can layer your die cuts, as long as it's not going to be too thick, because you know you are pressing, but you can layer your die cuts and make something gorgeous like this. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Be sure to check out my Artesprix playlist. Plus, there should be a coupon code here for you guys to get a discount on your sublimation products from Artesprix. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.